Hello and welcome. Today we are in the tier 10 French destroyer, the Kléber, or as some of the German viewers are going to read this, the Kleber, which translates to glue. But of course the ship is probably named after Jean-Baptiste Kléber, who was a French general during the Revolutionary Wars. If you're interested in what the ship is like in terms of the specific stats, I go over them in port at the end of the video, so that should be somewhere around the 16-ish minute mark. So if you're interested, you can skip it, but I will go through most of them during this video too, or the match. So, if I were to explain what the Kleber is like in one sentence, then it would be Khabarovsk 1.0 except better. What I mean by this is that the ship reminds me very much of when Khabarovsk first released, before she had her heals and whatnot, because she's really fast, and I'm talking really fast. Faster than any other ship in the game. And I'm talking faster than a Khabarovsk, faster than a Le Terrible. In fact, the ship, for me, goes 55.2 knots. For some reason, Strep says that his ship goes 55.4 knots. I'm guessing he measured his speed when going downhill. Her firepower is mostly quite okay. She does slightly less damage output, has slightly less damage output than tier 10 cruisers, except she has less penetration, of course. However, she has a reload booster, which is very useful because that doubles her damage output, which, when you end up in contact with a destroyer, is incredibly deadly. She also has torpedoes that are, in my opinion, really good. They are 8 km range, so not the greatest, but they go 75 knots, only 1 knot slower than F3s, but they have 1.4 km concealment compared to 1.8 on F3, so you have less reaction time to these. But you'll see the guns in action in a moment. So there's a gearing. I'm gonna use reload booster after I fire, and there it is. 5,200 damage, 2,600 damage, 2,100 damage, and 1,980 damage. And I probably did 14,000 damage to that gearing, or somewhere around that, in that one exchange. You see, while her damage output, like I mentioned, is actually, comparable to the tier 10 cruisers, but when she uses reload booster, obviously it doubles, so you're dealing with damage output that actually exceeds Haruguma, meaning that this is some insane amount of DPM. And so if you just make contact with a Kleber, it's either you go all in and fight immediately, or you disappear immediately, so you don't end up in contact for too long, if you're another destroyer that's fighting her. Of course, 6.3 km concealment does mean you often have some idea that you're going to be in contact with her, so you can react beforehand. But what that gearing did is probably one of the worst ways you can do it, because she didn't really even shoot back at me. Sure, the team shot back at me, but something else the ship has is maneuverability on top of the speed. So, you know how Khabarovsk has been nerfed over and over in her rudder shift time? Well, the Kleber does not have that problem. With the rudder shift upgrade, she has 3.8 second rudder shift, meaning that she is very maneuverable. And then you add the massive amount of speed on top of it, and she's very difficult to hit. Of course, she doesn't have a heal, so this means obviously that any damage she takes is going to be permanent. I think this ship is going to be amazing in arms race. Like, I actually cannot wait to try that again. But in random battles, of course, you're not going to have any kind of way to replenish your health, which means that if you take a massive hit from a battleship or a cruiser, that's going to hurt. And it can effectively limit the way you play the game. So you need to be very careful with your HP, which is why I'm just skimming the edge most of the time. Because this is the start of the match, and there are CVs in this game. Sure, I think they're tier 8 CVs. Can't actually read the name. Oh yeah, they are tier 8 CVs. Which means that they aren't going to be as dangerous, but, a lot of ships shooting at you, even if you're difficult to hit, can some of them are eventually going to hit. Now, the funny thing is, when the Minotaur came out, my first thought was, well, what's the greatest counter to this ship? And I thought it's the Khabarovsk, because she's so difficult to hit for a Minotaur. But I think the Kleber is actually even crazier at it, because she is even harder to hit. Because she is so fast and she can dodge everything, and oh my god, if this Minotaur had not missed the shells, I would have been hit by almost all of them. Wow. That's good commentary, okay? Don't complain about it. So, there are two ways you can use this reload booster. You can use it for destroyers. Well, obviously there are probably other uses, but two main uses, as I see it. When you make contact with the destroyers, you want to use it. And when you set a fire on a target you really want to kill, and they put that fire out with a damage control party, you can pop reload booster and just keep shelling with HE. Now the thing is that she has 139mm caliber guns. I don't know why it's 139. I believe in real life it was slightly less, but whatever. And she doesn't get any kind of special penetration advantages, which means that her penetrating power on the HE shells isn't great. Even with IFHE, she cannot penetrate 32mm of armor, meaning that she's not going to be nearly as annoying for battleships and many other types of ships as something like a Haruguma is going to be. Because, well, she just cannot penetrate that kind of armor. So, the way I think this ship should mostly be played is you just keep running. You try to interrupt the enemy as much as possible. If necessary, you can cap, unlike the Khabarovsk, which I think is amazing. In fact, I kinda think Khabarovsk should get a buff on her rudder shift so that you aren't... And or maybe the concealment, at least if this ship goes through, as she is. Although I kinda doubt it, I think she's going to get some nerfs. And as you can see, the torpedoes are rather effective. Because again, you have less reaction time than against F3 torpedoes. These are going to be one of the harder torpedoes to dodge, and she can fire them from stealth. And so, unlike the Khabarovsk, again, she has usable torpedoes, so either I think Khabarovsk needs a buff, or the ship probably is gonna get nerfed. Or maybe it's just general power creep. So far, well, in this match we're not actually that great off. I mean, I have had a great game so far, 91k damage, and I'm gonna get a whole bunch more. I'm at 105k, make that 114k. But we've lost 4 ships, the enemy team has lost 2. Cap control is roughly the same. We're gonna be able to take A soon, so that's not too big of a problem. But they do control 2 caps so far. And our greatest problem is that we have fewer ships and our CV is low. Meaning that the enemy CV could potentially go and just take out our Kaga, and there's not that much we can do about it. But I mean, the main thing here to do is to just keep running away. Defending is easier than attacking, especially with a ship like this. If you have room, the Kléber is going to be incredible. Because you can simply keep sailing away, shoot that roughly maximum range, and wait, she didn't go down? Okay, I need to make sure that Montana goes down. Otherwise this is going to be... I'm going to be a very sad camper if she doesn't go down. Okay, good. So, now I can pick another target. As you can see, look, the Minotaur is shooting at me, and she doesn't have very much success, does she? Upgrades-wise, I definitely recommend the speed boost upgrade. One thing though with the ship is that she does need... what's it called? She does need expert marksman, because her turret traverse is kinda bad, and considering her maneuverability, I would say that you pretty much need that expert marksman. But you also need last stand, because this ship's rudder and engine break like crazy when you actually get hit. I can't even count the number of times the rudder and the engine have been broken, even though I haven't even played that many games with her. So you basically do need to take those 4 points. Of course you can probably play without last stand if you really wish to, because unlike the Khabarovsk, I am not using AFT here, and I have 13.6 kilometer range. And you can take AFT to get even more range. And then you can take the range upgrade for even more range. You can literally get up to 18.9 kilometer range on this ship. I actually played like that the first game, but I realized that her gun reload is 7 seconds without any of the reload stuff. So with BFT and the reload upgrade, it's 5.5 seconds. Meaning that it's a quite long reload for a destroyer, so I figured that, hey, going more DPM is probably better because that kind of massive range isn't that useful, at least in my opinion. I mean, you can hit battleships in particular, but overall I feel like it's not the great... Wait, what the hell? I'm shooting that There's a gearing that appeared in front of me. I don't think I've realized at the time yet. Oh, I probably realized now. So I need to disengage. Thankfully the gearing used the smoke screen, so I can probably disengage fairly easily. I'm going to leave some presents for that gearing. This is one of the greatest things about these torpedoes, I think. As you can see, engine broken. I'm not gonna damage on it because this ship goes really fast even with a broken engine with last stand. Okay, I damage on now because I got off the island, or the map edge. These torpedoes are great for surprising destroyers. Sure, you don't have that many of them, but they reload quickly, and you have 2 launchers per side, so you can technically drop 16 torpedoes, but in effect you're probably rarely going to drop more than 6. And they can surprise DD players. I'm going to put some more distance between me and the gearing, and we'll just pick these cruisers off. I think starting with Kutuzov is better, since Kutuzov does not have a heal. So she should be easier to take out. Oh yeah, I didn't actually mention how much pen she has. I think she has 29mm of HE pen. You'll see in the port if you want to make doubly sure, but I'm fairly certain that's the case. Which means that you can penetrate 27mm of... this is with IFHE. You can penetrate the 27mm of like Des Moines and a Baltimore and Salem and all those good things. So you can fight some cruisers rather well, but others like a Moskva, no dice. Well, I guess no destroyer can fight a Moskva well, considering her HE, armor against HE. So now I'm trying to disappear, which I just did, and now I'm gonna turn in closer. I'm going to turn my guns around, and I'm going to try to surprise the gearing. Because remember, the gearing does have better concealment than I do, so I do need to surprise her. But I do have a reload booster available, which means that I should be able to deal with the gearing with rather ease. As you can see, I used both sets of my torps here, although I don't think the ones on Moscow are going to be successful. Oh, contact, which means gearing straight ahead. And fire and reload booster and goodbye gearing, 6k HP. Yeah, not gonna be enough. Sorry, man. And now it's time to go after the Moskva. I would say that in this match the enemy team pretty much played into our hand, including me, because, oh wow, my torps weren't long range enough. Oh well, whatever. Yeah, game's kinda over now though. Check out the speed boost. Look how fast it goes. See, I told you she's a really fast ship. So now it's just time to wrap up though. I'm gonna try using AP on this Jean Bart because, well, she is kind of broadside and, or going to be broadside, and her superstructure should be rather, well, I hope she's gonna be broadside because she's gonna fight a Conqueror, right? And her superstructure should be rather massive for some pretty good amount of damage. Let's see. Okay, I don't know where those shells went. Okay, actually the AP isn't as amazing as I thought it was going to be. Okay, the Jean Bart used damage control party, so it's time to switch to HE and try to set her on fire again. Well, no fire. Anyway, So what I think about the ship is that she feels a bit too strong. Okay, maybe not even a bit. She definitely feels too strong, and I do expect some nerfs. But if she goes into the game as is, she's going to be amazing. Utterly amazing. She feels so nice to play, and she feels really, really powerful too. Oh, that AP salvo is what I'm looking for. Kinda surprised the Jean-Bart is actually ignoring me. You would think she would try to finish me off. Sure, I might go fast, but at 7 kilometers, that speed isn't going to be as helpful. But I guess she is too focused on the Conquerors, so that's good for me. And she will go down in a moment. Not gonna get 200k though. Missing ever so slightly some damage, but the game's pretty much over here. Because I guess I shot a few more planes down. And 199.5k damage this game. 2 caps actually. 3 ships sunk, even shot down 9 planes. 2757 base XP. A very good game. I would say that this game fit really well for this ship. 1.5 million potential damage, because I could constantly disengage and keep running away, which made the fights much easier. If it were the other way around, where I would have to chase, I think I would have had a lot more trouble. First of all, I wouldn't have got any torpedo damage, and second of all, it would have been much easier for the enemy to hit me, because I would basically be closer than I was. And here you can see the gun performance. 121k with alpha damage, 77k with HE, and 50-something k-ish with AP. So, this is the Kleber and pot. She looks pretty nice. Oh, actually, this is the wrong camo. Let's fix that. This is appropriate, right? So, actually, let's first look at the captain skills I use on the Kleber. So, I go with priority target, obviously, last stand, survivability expert, concealment expert, and then I definitely recommend expert marksman on her. Her turret traverse, in my opinion, is absolutely not enough. And obviously you get the 2.5 degrees per second on the Kleber because her guns are 139mm, meaning that this is a very, very useful skill in my opinion. Then IFHE, and last, basic firing training. You could also take superintendent. You could probably take adrenaline rush if you feel that the turret traverse is already good enough. And I think AFT is actually also a good idea at times, because you can stack up a lot of range on her, and it's possible to get 18.9 kilometers if you go all range. I don't recommend it, but it's possible, and you can hit battleships at least that are moving in a very predictable way. Upgrades wise, I don't recommend Superintendent because she doesn't have a heal, but she does have a reload booster, which is very, very, very nice. It's minus 50% on main battery reload, lasts for 15 seconds, and has a decent reload. This makes the Kléber able to fight other destroyers rather well. Speed boost is fairly nice, but let's be honest, the speed boost lasts for so long that you honestly don't really need 4 of them. So Superintendent would basically only be for this main battery, for this one extra main battery reload booster. Upgrades wise, I go with the standard on a destroyer like this, main arms modification 1, the speed engine boost modification upgrade, so engine boost lasts longer. Then I go for less dispersion, rudder shift, because her rudder shift is 3.8 seconds with it. It's still a bit high, but it's pretty good with it. And then concealment, because her concealment gets down to 6.3 kilometers with all of this, and then reload booster, because if the ship lacks one thing, then it's, well, firepower, I guess. Or rather, she's not exactly lacking in it, but she's not excellent at it either. So let's go through it. She has 25,400 HP with the survivability expert upgrade, or commander skill. Her guns are, she has 8 guns, 4x2s, 139mm, and with basic firing training and the reload upgrade, it gets down to 5.5 seconds. This gives her 174k damage per minute. So when you end up fighting a destroyer and you press your reload booster button, you actually put out more damage than even a Harugumo. But that's only for 15 seconds. Once that's over, you end up at like a cruiser level. Except your guns are 139mm caliber, and as far as I know, the HE penetration of these is not enough to actually penetrate, even with IFHE, Not enough to penetrate 30mm of armor, but you can penetrate like a Des Moines armor, so obviously 32 is also out of the window. The fire chance is pretty good at 10%, but the volume of fire isn't the greatest, so that 10% isn't actually that amazing, but it's fairly decent. AP seems pretty good too, so yeah, as you can see, the gun firepower isn't amazing, but it's good, and since you can equip her for range stuff, I think it's quite okay. Torpedoes are actually pretty good in the ship. She has 4x3s, meaning 2 torpedo launchers per side with 3 torpedoes each. They go 75 knots, so only 1 knot slower than F3s. They also have 8 km range, but these have 1.4 km detectability compared to the F3s, which have 1.8. Meaning you have something like 20% less time to react to these torpedoes, and damage-wise they're also pretty good at 18,000. Anti-air-wise, well, let's be honest, destroyer anti-air is garbage, so, you know, you can't really expect much. Doesn't really even say much here. But maneuverability, 46.2 knots, 740 meter turning circle, 3.8 second rudder shift. This is obviously with the upgrade. But this makes the ship incredibly fast. 46.2 knots without it. Obviously she has the speed flag and all those nice things on her too. But 46.2 knots, and then you add the 20% speed boost on top of it, you get up to 55.2 knots at least tested in game. In a straight line. 55.2 knots. She is a proper speed demon. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I would like to thank the patrons on Patreon. Thank you very much for your continued support, Cheetah Freak, and I hope I'll see you guys next time.